Primo is a program that takes an input file with the name of the form myfile.in or yourfile.in, something like that. You decide on the file name. You put the number you want to test into the file, in this case 29, 11, 13. That's quite a lot smaller than the numbers you'll want to try, but it serves a purpose for this description. It's called a candidate because before it's been tested, we don't actually know if it's prime or not. Primo takes the input file and starts to find out if it can be divided by any numbers other than 1 and itself. When it's got a result, it creates an output file which will have a name of the form xyz.out or abc.out, something along those lines. You can't control this file name. Primo decides on the file name for you. If you open the file and have a peek inside, there'll be a section called Status, and if the number proved to be a prime, it'll say Candidate Certified Prime. Congratulations, you just found a prime number. It uses a little cryptography here as well. It includes the number you tested in a section called Candidate. There's a line that says $n equals, and then the number. It might not look like the number you tested, but it is. That's because it's expressed in hexadecimal, otherwise known as base 16. That's just a natural number system for computers to use. 29, 11, 13, expressed in hexadecimal notation, is 47129. Below that in the file, there is a section for a thing called a signature. It just looks like a couple of long, complicated numbers. But the way to look at it is as if Primo is a person, and they have literally taken a pen to the document and signed it. It's like as if Primo is saying, I verify this number is genuinely prime, and here's my signature to prove I've checked it. Now the reason this is useful is because Primo can also be used to verify other people's output files. Verifying an output file takes the tiniest fraction of time that running a full prime calculation would. If Bob sent you his output file and you wanted to be sure he found a prime number, well, Primo can take a look at the file and its signature and either say, yes, it's genuine, or nope, either the file has been corrupted, or, more sinister, somebody has tampered with it and tried to edit the contents to make things look better than they really are. Could it have been Bob himself? Surely not. Primo includes a verification algorithm which takes the prime number. Well, actually, it takes a lot more information than just the prime, but let's keep things simple. It takes the prime number and the signature and sees if they match up to each other. If they do, that's great. You get a signature is valid message. But let's say somebody evil just simply edited the output file before it got to you. When you use Primo to validate it, the algorithm spots the inconsistency. In this case, the criminal has made a schoolboy error and edited the candidate number to make it slightly larger. The only problem is that he's turned it into an even number. So Primo says, error, invalid signature, and error, even number. Let's imagine he now makes another edit. This time when Primo checks the file, it just says, error, invalid signature. This is what us organisers at the Prime Challenge will do with the primes you send us. Your numbers are only candidate primes until they've been validated. The fastest way to get them validated is to send a Primo output file when you submit your prime to the challenge. Let's imagine you test a certain number. In this case, we'll use 29, 11, 17 as an example. In reality, your number will be much bigger than this. Primo tells you the number is not a prime, so you move on to test another number, in this case 29, 11, 13. Primo certifies it as a prime number. The .out file will contain a hexadecimal representation of your number and the signature. So when you send the file to us at the Prime Challenge, we'll get Primo to validate the signature in the file. It will pass the validation, which will mean your prime number is validated by the Prime Challenge fairly quickly. Your entry in the results table will have your name up in lights, and the status will have changed from candidate to verified. Congratulations, you're now leading the table. Let's now imagine an evil witch casts a spell on you that makes you want to cheat to ensure the continued glory of that coveted leader position in the results table. Imagine if you took the output file that you know already worked and simply edited the number to make it bigger. Let's say you went for 299991. When the file is presented to Primo at the prime challenge back here to verify the signature, it'll come back with error, invalid signature. If you aren't using Primo to find primes, say if you're using your own code and your own algorithm, you can just send us the number in a file. It will take longer for us to validate the number is prime because we'll have to do a full check. If you're curious about how prime signatures work, or rather I should say, if you're curious about how signatures work, watch the CryptoPrimer video at http://aka.ms/CryptoPrimer. Using Primo. The first thing we need to use Primo is the Primo program itself. And the way to find that is to go into the file system, to go into the documents folder, and to then go into the Primo folder. And in here you'll see this icon, double click it. That opens up the 64-bit version of Primo. Primo is the program which is used to test a number and see if it's prime or not. It can test very, very large numbers, bigger than 11,000 digits. Okay, so the first thing we need in order to test a number is an input file that contains the number to test. So to do that, I would normally go Menu and create a new input file. Now before I do that, I want to just talk about, in the Documents folder, I have created my own separate working folder called 021213 primes, 2nd of December 2013 primes. And I happen to have a big prime number already specified in a file there for a demo I'm going to do in a few moments. But this is going to be my working directory. So I'm going to say Menu, New Input File. I'm going to specify the file I want to go to, so I go to Documents, my new folder, and then rather than have it as new.in, I'll call this one 2nd of December 2013. So if I did lots of different files on different days, I'd know which ones were which. That's the important thing here. Click Save. Okay, so it's now given me this file, and you can see here it's got information about the versions and when it was created. I can put a comment in here if I want to. So let me just say my first prime test, and then I need to put a candidate number in. So there's a number I know is prime, and we'll try it, 291113. The number you put into this candidate section must be bigger than 65,535. So this number is bigger because it's one digit bigger, so it's a bigger number overall. And then we save the file. Then I can close this down. And there is my input file. Okay. That's created an input file for me. The next thing is to talk about creating a certification or proving that the number is actually a prime number. And that's this part of the Primo program called certification. So I have to set up this thing called a sieve. Now what we basically do is we say if the file is around the 2000 digit mark, if it's less than 2000 digits, then I set this number, and in fact between 2000 and 3000 digits I still set this number here, so it's 2000 decimal digits. That will automatically specify 23 bits. If I move this up to 3000 digits, notice it automatically specifies a part of the filter to 24 bits. So because this is a smaller number than 3000 digits, I'm going to go to the lowest section in here, and I'm going to click Build, and that will build this sieve, or this filter for filtering prime numbers. Okay, next thing is to load a Primo input file. So I click Load, and there is my file, 021213.in. So I click Open, and it immediately has done a test, and it says to me that the candidate has been certified as a prime number. Okay, now in doing that, it's produced a number of different files. We can forget this one because that's one that I created myself before we started. So there's the input number, and then you can see there's a work report. That's the same as this file here, just tells me what happened. We can see a certification report. Again, I don't need that file. And an output file, and an output file is known as a primality certificate. So this is a certificate which proves that the number that I tested is a prime number. Okay, next I need to show you how it proves that the number is a prime number. So I'll open this file, and we can see here in the opening header information it says things like what the version is, what the website is, and so on. But the most important thing is this part here, which says that the candidate number has been certified as a prime number. Okay, let's go down a little bit further. It says that we did a there are my comments. It's got some information on running times, and then we get to the really important part, which is the candidate. So this is the candidate number. This whole section is talking about the candidate number. So it says the candidate number came from this file, 021213.in. We know that. It says the number that we tested. Now it says here that the number was 47129. However, if I go back to that input number, we can see that it was actually 291113. And the reason for the confusion here is because in the output file, this number is expressed in hexadecimal, which is base 16. So this number will appear to be smaller than the input number because it's in base 16 hexadecimal. It's 5 hexadecimal digits. We know it's 6 decimal digits because it's 291113, that's 6 digits. And if we were to care to do the conversion in binary, it would be 19 digits long. Okay, at the bottom of the file there is a special set of numbers which are called the signature. The way to look at these is as if Primo is a person who's gone through the mathematical process of verifying that the number 291113, which is the same as 47129 in hexadecimal, is a prime number. They've specified that by writing it in this section of the file here, that it's certified as a prime number, and these numbers are the equivalent of them scribbling their signature onto the bottom of the form. So there's a whole load of cryptography which makes this work, but that's effectively what we have. So we now have a primality certificate. So this is a certificate which proves the primality of that number, 47129. Okay, now there's only one way to get an output file, and that is to have correctly assessed or to have had Primo correctly assess that an input number is indeed a prime number. So let's delete these two files which we don't need, just to keep things neat and tidy. Move it to the trash. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another file. Well, I'll modify the input file. And this time I'm going to put in a number which is not a prime number. If I do that, 291117, this is not a prime number. So if I save that and then close the editor down, I can do another certification. So I can load this file, I can pick it, it runs through, very quickly does the mathematics on it, and what it says is this candidate is divisible by 3, so that's definitely not a prime number. Okay, now what you'll notice is I do have a work report, and that work report file is exactly the same as this one that's displayed here, just shows me the work that was done, but I don't have a new .out file. That's the original one. Let's just have a look in there. There we go, 47129. Primality certificate for 47129. But I don't have a new output file. So the only way to get an output file is to have an input file that contains a prime number and to run it through Primo's certification process. Okay, that's good. That's very good. Now, let me delete this file because it's just confusing. We don't need it. So, when you do the prime challenge, you can imagine that you have your own copy of Primo running in this Linux virtual machine. But I have my own copy of Primo. Let's put my copy, let's imagine this is my copy running over here in a data center somewhere. So one of the things that you will do is you'll take your certification file, which proves that your number is prime, and you'll send it to the Prime Challenge website. And the Prime Challenge website, or somebody at the Prime Challenge website, will verify that the number that you have provided is indeed a prime number. So how will they do that? Well, it's very likely going to be me that will do this. So this is what I'll do. I'll open your file and I'll look inside it. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and see that it says that the candidate is certified prime. Now, you couldn't have got this file if that hadn't been the case, but I will do that check just in case. Then I'll come down and I'll look at the number which has been said to be prime. Now, if I just took that at face value, if I just took the fact that it says that 47129 is a prime number, that would be one thing. But one of the things that the less honest people might have done is they might have modified the file. They might have modified this number and made it seem as though it's bigger than it really is. Maybe they'd make that into a 5,000 digit file. And now for Primo to check a 5,000 digit file, well, that might take a few hours or a few days even. So they could save a bit of time and cheat by just putting a really big number into this section here, and up here leaving that as candidate certified prime, and then just simply saving the file, closing it, and then entering it into the prime challenge. Let's imagine this is the prime challenge over here. And then what I will do is I would, back at the base, back at the prime challenge, I would open the file, and I would be none the wiser. However, if you were to do that, I would spot the fact that you had made that change. In fact, to prove that point, let's role play this. Let's imagine that you wanted to put in here a much larger number. Let's put in here something which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's that big. This is a hexadecimal number, so let's put some other digits onto the end. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. Now let's save this file. Close it down. And now what you would do is send this file, this fraudulent file, to the prime challenge. And then what I will do at the prime challenge is I will fire up my own copy of Primo, and I will want to do verification on this certificate. So the way I'll do that is I'll go to verification, load, and I'll find the file. There it is. I'll then open it and I'll look at the report that comes out. And the thing I'm really looking for is I have an error. So I know that something has happened to this file between the time that Primo created it and the time that I ran it through the verification procedure. Now there are a number of different errors that can occur. Let's try a few more modifications to this file. Let's just imagine that I take this back to the original number, and let's not be quite so greedy. Let's say 47129. Let's make it 47131. Okay, save that. Now, when you send that file, let's imagine this is the prime challenge over here, and when you send that file to the prime challenge, then probably me will be sat there, and I'll do a verification of that file. So I'll load it, and I'll look at the bottom here, and it says it's got an invalid signature this time. So I'm looking for something at the bottom of here which doesn't say that it's got an invalid signature. Let's go back again and make another modification to the file. Let's put it to what it should be. So that's what it should be. Whoops. I'll close that without saving it. And let's load the file. And down here it says it's got a valid signature. So if I see an error or an invalid signature in this section of the file, then I know that something happened between the time that Primo created the file and it arrived at the prime challenge. So the reason for doing this is because checking the validity of a certificate is much faster than running a complete prime number check. So let's imagine that you used a very big number, let's just say a 5,000 digit number, and it took a couple of days for that process to run and for you to be verified as having found a new prime number. Then in order for me to verify that it is truly a prime number, I'd have to also run that test for a couple of days, and it would take the process of finding new prime numbers would take much longer. But if you run that process for a couple of days, and Primo produces for you an output file, which is a certificate, and you send me that certificate, and the certificate then says at the bottom of it a valid signature, then I know that you didn't modify the contents of the file, because the contents of the file will always generate an error or an invalid signature message if they are modified after Primo has produced them. Okay, so that's how you produce your output file. That is how you do a primality test. That is how you create an input file, and it's how you do all of these things together. Now, one of the things that I will want from you is also a file which just specifies as a big string of decimal digits what the number is that you tested. So the difficulty you can see is that the Primo output file is in hexadecimal and the input file is in decimal. So you can use another tool, and the tool is called Calc, and it does very large integer arithmetic for you. So what you can do is run this terminal session, and you can just use Calc interactively if you want to. So you type Calc, and you can type things like 2 to the power of 123 plus 7, and it will give you the answer. So you can see that's quite a big number. I could say 2 to the power of 1928474, whatever that is. And let's see, it'll take a bit longer to calculate this time. And it took a little while to calculate, but you can see it's still calculating actually. But it's a big number. We can show how big that number is by just scrolling up through. Okay, so you can really get an idea of the size of that number. So Calc is very useful for doing huge integer arithmetic. So if you had a number like 47129 in hexadecimal, then you can print it in decimal. So if I type in here 0x, which means hexadecimal, 0x, x for hexadecimal, 47129, then when I hit return, it shows me its value in decimal. Okay, now I want you to send a file to the Prime Challenge which contains this value, 291113, along with your Primo output file. So I need 2 files from you. What you can do to create the text file is to go like this, to come out of Calc, so quit, and to type Calc, the number you want to convert from hexadecimal, so that's 0x47129, and then you use the greater than symbol, which looks a little bit like an arrow, and it says put the output into another file. Now, I could type in the name of the file at this stage, but before I do that, I'm just going to show you something about working directories. So let me get rid of this command line. In the file system, my current working directory is home documents 021213 primes. In that command line, that terminal window, my current working directory I can find out by typing pwd, which stands for print working directory. And that one is home/Azure user. So I need to get into the same directory as my file system working directory. So the way I do that is, if I type ls, it will show me all the files. And I can see here I've got the documents directory, which is one that I need. So I can go cd, which is change directory, documents. It's case sensitive, so I need to put the capital D on the front. So now if I do print working directory, it says that I'm in home/Azure user/documents. So I can do ls again, and I can see those other files. And there is my working directory, the one that my Primo is working in. So I'm going to say cd to 021213 primes. Remember, it's case sensitive. And now when I type print working directory, I'm in the same directory as Primo. So if I do ls to list all the, ls stands for list, it's like dir, list all the files, then I can see them all there. Okay, so the next thing for me to do is to run that calc program. So this time I'm going to say calc. I'm going to put in the hexadecimal number 0x47129, and I'm going to put the output into another file. Let's call this let's call it 47129.txt. Why not? Okay, so now I should have the decimal version of that hexadecimal number in a file called 47129.txt. And I can prove that by coming in here and finding the file, there it is, and then double clicking it, and we can see the number is 291113. Now one thing you're going to have to do when you do this is put the cursor on the front of this number and get rid of the tab character at the start of the file. That doesn't help us at the Prime Challenge, so just get rid of that and then click Save. Okay, so that means you now have both a file with a string of decimal digits in it, and you have an output file, this one, and those two are basically the same number. One of them is expressed in hexadecimal, one of them is expressed as a decimal digit. We use this one in the Prime Challenge to work out what your provisional position is in the table. And then when we've finally run the check using the Primo file, then you become this becomes a confirmed valid position in the table. So that's why you will want to send this file, because if you don't send this file, then we can't work out what your provisional position is in the table. Okay. That's as much as you need to know for generating these numbers. I'm just going to show you, here's a big prime number. Well, I say big, it's only a few digits, but it's a, it's a larger prime number. So I could put that number into, let me do copy. Let me close that down. I could put that number into this file. Let me put it in here. Paste. And then save this file, this input file. Now I have a new input file. I could do another primality check. So let's go to certification. It's less than 2,000 digits. Let's load the file. There it is. And it should say that this is a prime number because I've, it says the candidate is divisible by 3. I thought I'd, oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to show you that it's a bad number. I don't think I need to show you anything else. No, that will do. Okay, let me close this down, and close this down, and close this down. Now, when you start doing this with some very large numbers, you'll probably want to do them on very, very big numbers. So, because they might take several hours or several days to calculate, then you might want to do a range of numbers in parallel with each other. So you might remember the other day, or you might remember in the previous video, I created 3 virtual machines, and each of them was running a copy of Linux with Primo and Calc. Well, today, if I close this down like this, whoops, if I go here and do this, you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them today, and they're actually all running. If I go here, you can see them all. There's one. Let me just make this one into a more reasonable size. So that's there's the next one, the next one, the next one, and the next one. So I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them all running. And I could, if I wanted to, I could run a copy of Primo in each of these machines and have all 6 machines working on 6 different numbers to try and calculate what the value of the prime is that I'm looking for. Because of course, the problem that we've got is, or the problem that you've got, is trying to find a prime number. You have to pick a number. You can't just say to Primo, go away and find me a prime number. You have to feed it a number. So it's better to feed 6 numbers into 6 copies of Primo that are running simultaneously than it is to do one number and then move on to the next and the next and the next and the next. Now you know that you've got $200 worth of resources that you can use, and if I go to show you how much I've used so far, those are the machines. Remember, they all give you error. It all says errors in here, but they're not actually errors. They're running quite fine. But in my credit status, I've used £1 so far. Now, actually, I've run these machines for a lot longer than the recording time of the video because I've been setting things up and trying things and so on. But I've had 6 machines running for some time, and I've spent £1 of my £130 or my $200 US, and I've got 29 days left until all of this has gone. So that should give you some idea of a good way of running Primo. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. The next video will be how to actually submit your numbers into the Prime Challenge. But that's a separate video. What this video has shown you is how to run Primo. I hope you enjoyed it.